Welcome back to the Freedom Queen podcast. You're watching season 1, The Art of Moving the Masses. And this is episode number 9 on why you are more powerful than you're allowing yourself to be. What has happened is that in your life, you have become more powerful, but you didn't change your identity and how you see yourself. So you've achieved a lot more success, more money, more followers, literally crazy achievements, but you never changed your self-concept. You're still operating in an identity from 2 years ago. Meanwhile, your life is now. It's ahead of where you used to be. You're achieving levels of success that old you would look at and have her jaw drop. But you're still in that an old identity. And the way this shows up is you're not really owning how good you are at the work you do in business. You downplay your success, or you self-sabotage right after you win. Why do you do this? So let's say you have a really big win and then you self-sabotage. You start to change everything in your business. You tell yourself something's wrong. You'll never do it again. You stop showing up. You stop believing in yourself. The mind drama starts to play inside because you're attached to your old self-concept, because you still see yourself as someone that you used to be, rather than seeing yourself for who you really are. You stopped selling yourself on you, and you're still buying into the old version of you. So inside of this episode, I want you to understand that there's a new version of you that you need to sell yourself on. Because in the beginning, wherever, you sold yourself on you to a certain degree, right? You got success, you got the achievements, the money, the wins, the clients, the fame, whatever. But now there's a new identity that you need to sell yourself on. It's like thinking about it like you are now promoting yourself to you. Just as much as you promote your brand, your movement, your offers to other people, I want you to, by the end of this episode, be so sold on you that you are drinking your own Kool-Aid. You know, other people talk about drinking other people's Kool-Aid. I'm going to talk about drinking your own. Like, get drunk on your own Kool-Aid. Drink that juice. Drink it for yourself. Stop drinking everybody else's. This is one of the things that I do with my clients inside of the Infinite Mastermind, my year-long space, and it's why so many of them are the people that you hire to this day. They're the people making six-figure months. Is I help them get sold on themselves, not just help them sell to the public. Because what's a business if you're making all the money but you don't actually believe in you? If every single time you win, you self-sabotage and you feel bad about yourself. If you're at the top of the mountain winning so much, but you don't actually believe in yourself. That's not what we do in Freedom Queen. We build up women that are already winning and help them win more and actually feel inside like, yes, of course, they've built this incredible business, but they're also sold on the next evolution of them. Because if not, that's when you start to experience things like depression and anxiety and sadness and all of these different things that come up when you don't actually see yourself for who you are. So I'm going to help you sell yourself on you inside of this episode. Over the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, however long you've been in business, you've done some incredible things. And you've started to tell yourself that they're not that good. Well, other people have done other things. Yes. There's always going to be other people that have done other things. There's always going to be someone further ahead than you. But what you've done thus far is incredible. And when you own that and you actually feel it for yourself and you allow it to anchor in, not just like, yeah, I did it, but you did that. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you for what you've done and what you've created thus far. And yes, you have so much more to go. But if you look at what you've done now and say, you are the one. You're the one who showed up when you didn't have to. You're the one who posted when you didn't feel like it. You're the one who kept selling after a challenge. You're the one who went through that shaming thing and you still showed up. You did that. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a one-time thing. It wasn't because of someone else. You created that. And so many people give so much credit to money. They're like, money loves me. Money's on the outside. No, money needs you. Without you, money doesn't exist. Without you, your industry doesn't exist. Without you, the lives that you've changed would never have happened. the impact, that transformation wouldn't have occurred. You matter so much more than you think that you do. You don't give yourself enough credit for that. And the second you start actually owning this, you start sending this signal out. It's like, ping, like all of a sudden a sailboat in the middle of the ocean. It's like, ping, light turns on. And you start sending this signal to other people that you're alive, you're light, you can see yourself, and other people start to see you for that, because people see power in the way that you see power in yourself. The more that you see your power in yourself, the more that people will see that in you. It's not what you've done, it's how you see yourself. Have you ever seen this? Like, somebody with so many achievements is less magnetic than somebody who has less achievements? Have you ever seen this in the online space? I see it all the time. Like, I've had clients who have built 8-figure companies have less magnetism than somebody who's at multi-6 figures, just hit their first 7 figures. Because it's how those people see themselves that matter. It's how you see yourself and your power that matters. So that old level of power that you had in yourself got you to a certain achievement level of success. And maybe she was, and I want you to just go ahead and describe her. Maybe she was delusional and silly and confident and fun and dramatic and maybe scattered and distracted at certain times. She got you to a certain level of success, but then your identity changed. You actually have shifted. Like, how other people see you have shifted, but you didn't shift how you see yourself, so you self-sabotage. So I want you to go ahead and name all of the different ways that you describe yourself, how you were when you showed up for your business and your life to get to that level that you're at now. Describe all of them. Okay? Now, I want you to take a look at those words that you wrote out, or maybe some of the ones that I just shared with you, and ask yourself, are those pieces of your identity that you have to this day? To this day. Some of them you might not have. Some of them might be a part of your new self-concept and your new identity. What I'm going to help you do is bridge this gap. Actually, I'm going to help you evolve in real time with me right now, live, while you're watching this. So you can see who you need to be now. What do you need to identify as now in order to be a match for the next level, to sustain, maintain, and grow, compound, as I talk about in my Infinite Mastermind, your income. Let me give you a practical example of this so you can see it in real time. 2021, I had a 6-figure year. The next year, I started to grow in my income about that summertime. And what I realized is that I was butting up against my self-concept, right? How I saw myself. I was still seeing myself as the version of me the year prior. And that was no longer serving me anymore, because that version of me was not as confident. She was pretty insecure. She was really silly. She was a people pleaser. She wanted people to like her. She was always available. If you were listening to our last episode where I talked about that, she wasn't secure all of the time. She didn't really care much about her presence. So I knew, okay, well, I'm achieving all these new things, right? Like, I started to get a lot of new people coming in, new leads. Like, my name started to really grow, and my self-concept didn't. So I did a couple things. One, I got inside of a space that at that time, all of those people were making more money than me. Now, what's so crazy is that I make more money than all those people inside of that group, and sometimes even that mentor. Like, that's crazy, because I let myself evolve. But at that time, I joined a space where I was the smallest person in the room, and I had no business being in there. I was the smallest person. I was the most afraid. My presence didn't match where I wanted to go. I moved with uncertainty. I was so available all the time to everyone. And those were pieces of my identity that I had. And I said, okay, but I've achieved this success. That's not who I am anymore. I've done these things. So I moved to be inside of that mastermind. I also remember I said yes to an event that I had already previously gone to the year prior, but I felt like I was kind of too good for it. So I remember I got my ticket and I was like, actually, I think I already had my ticket. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to go to this event, but I'm going to go. And I go to the event, and I remember like my whole life changed. Like a new fire came inside of my belly and made me show up in a way that I had never shown up before. And I started to work on my identity. I started to really change. Something that I talk about inside of my core masterminds is high-end media. I started to change my high-end branding and how I started to show up. I started to create movement as the asset, which is one of the core reasons why I've been able to scale to 300K, 400K, 600K months inside of my company. This is where all of it really started to come through. I started to step into the new identity of being the freedom queen, right? The core brand identity that you step into inside of the company. And everything started to change for me. So instead of having that old identity, I started to create a new one. But I did things that mirrored back to me that identity. So being in that mastermind mirrored back to me the new identity, self-concept. The going to the event mirrored back to me the new identity, the changing of my branding, the changing of how I presented myself, the changing of the actions, the changing of who I was around. And I started to create a new self-concept, which is the freedom queen. You're confident, you're responsible, you're a leader, you're elegant, you're beautiful, you're classy, you tell it like it is, nobody messes with you, you're totally free, you're dangerous to people that don't understand you. So I started to create this new identity, but I didn't just think about it. I did everything I could that was very expansive for me in order to become that person. And my income started to skyrocket. But the reason my income rocketed is because my self-concept, who I thought I was, changed. Everything changed. But I did things that aligned with that. That's when I first started getting like a long-term trainer that really pushed me. I started changing all of my clothes. I started changing my iPhone background. I started changing my thoughts. If you listen to the past episode where I talked about confidence is a muscle, I started really working on it like a muscle instead of expecting myself to be confident. I started paying attention to my thoughts and how I saw myself and what I was telling myself internally and how I allowed people to treat me. And my self-concept changed. And as I was implementing the strategies that I teach to this day of movement as the asset and high-end branding and scalable offers, I started having multiple six-figure launches. I started making 98K cash months and then 100K cash months and so on to here we are to this day. Because my self-concept caught up and actually then exceeded where I was, and it kept me growing. I think it's such an important message right here. It's like if the self-concept of who you are is not where you're at, you're going to drop back down. If your self-concept is where you're at, you're going to stay. If your self-concept, if you allow it to go beyond where you are, you're going to keep growing and growing and growing. You're going to go to infinity and beyond. God, I love this episode. If you're inside of the Infinite Mastermind, I hope that you're really listening to this because we can talk about it in our calls. So how you see yourself is very important in order to keep the momentum growing and scaling inside of your company. Let me take a look at my notes here. No. I said everything. What I want you to do is update in who you believe you are. And I want you to actually reach beyond who you think you can be. I want you to reach beyond who you think that you can be because you can create so much from that place. And your business and everything is going to keep compounding as a result of that. So I will see you in the next episode. This is actually our final episode in this season. Although you're going to see some guest episodes, because last year I recorded some amazing podcasts with some of my different colleagues that I have in the online space who you're going to love. You'll see some of those episodes actually populate on our channels that you can listen to. We have some incredible guests, some guests that will trigger the crap out of you. They're super polarizing. They get a lot of hate online. We have some guests that you probably know that are going to just inspire you, just some guests that I'm really excited for you to hear from. So you'll see those populate on YouTube and our podcast channels. But I'll see you in the next episode, episode number 10. Do you want to know the title? I'll tell you the title. The title is The Most Vulnerable Thing You Can Do Is Win. So I will see you in our final episode of season 1 on the podcast. It will be here, available for you to click on as soon as it's populated. And I'll see you in the last episode. Bye.